Back to Keeneland Saturday afternoon. This was the field for the Grade 3 Lexington. This was essentially a win and you're in for one horse. If my boy Jack, breaking from the far outside, could win the Lexington, boom, he's in. Punches his ticket to the starting gate for the Kentucky Derby in 3 weeks. But that was the big if he won. Overall, he was bet down to 7-5, and he had to overcome a field of 9 other competitors that were trying to upset the apple cart. But fear not. Keith and Kent DeSormo, they team up and they get the job done. Here's the stretch run of the Lexington.
Away, 4 lengths away. Here's Telekinesis up the inside to challenge and take the lead. Here comes my boy Jack down the outside, and Gravitas fighting on in between those two. Telekinesis, my boy Jack, come to the front in the closing strides. My boy Jack gets up in the final.
My boy Jack, $5 on top as the winner of the Lexington. Goes off at odds of 7-5. The runner-up, Telekinesis, a horse we'll talk about a little bit more momentarily. Bet down to 7-2. A very impressive effort, in my opinion. And the third-place finisher was Pony Up for Todd and Johnny V, coming from well off the pace. Similar running style to my boy Jack. 5-1 as far as the off odds were concerned. Let's take a look a little bit more at my boy Jack. He is now 3 of 10 lifetime. He has been in the money on 8 different occasions, over $645,000 in career earnings. Owned by Don't Tell My Wife Stables and Monomoy Stables, LLC. Trained by Keith DeSormo. Ridden to victory by Kent DeSormo. Bred by Brereton C. Jones in the state of Kentucky. And the pedigree at the bottom of the page, you can see he's by Creative Cause out of a mineshaft mare named Gold in Shaft. Now here's the sad news, or the not sad news, but the disappointing news if you are a fan of my boy Jack. 90 Beyer speed figure, 117 time form US rating. You can look at this a couple different ways. From a Beyer standpoint, let's just look at the 3-year-old preps that were run on Saturday. From the Lexington, you had my boy Jack with a 90. The Arkansas Derby, you had Magnum Moon with a 98. Time form US, you had my boy Jack with 117, Magnum Moon 116. So you can see that there's a significant variation there as far as the numbers are concerned. My boy Jack also has to factor in, or has to be brought into the equation, that this is a horse that comes from off the pace, and he makes one run. If you do get a legitimate pace, and Kent DeSormo said as much in the post-race quotes, the Derby is usually an honestly run race, so we think the closing kick is going to be good. You just need to hope that you work out a good trip, and that's always the danger of these one-run closers in a race like the Kentucky Derby. For what it's worth, the Lexington, the half-mile call, was color-coded red, meaning it was fast and helping horses coming from off the pace, most notably a horse like my boy Jack, as well as Pony Up. I think my boy Jack is a very, very neat horse. I like him a lot. I think there's a ton of ability here. I still want him on the turf. I don't have much interest as far at the moment. Again, we've got a long way to go. 3 weeks, it may not sound like it's a long time, but there are so many things that can happen in training and little hiccups, and somebody's got a case of the thumps or whatever it may be. My boy Jack, I don't think I'm going to be using him as far as tickets are concerned. Maybe if I'm playing in Superfecta, I'll use him underneath, but that's even, I'm unsure about that. I think he's going to be a really, really serious racehorse when they get him back on the turf. But until then, I'm just going to sit back and hope and wish nothing but the best for the connections. My boy Jack, a nice effort here. Telekinesis was a horse that I did not like coming into Lexington. I didn't like the fact that he couldn't get the job done in that second lifetime start when he was odds on down at the fairgrounds. And I know he was in a little bit tight on the inside, and I know he was facing older horses, but I just thought he should have done more. Maybe I was being a little bit unkind and unforgiving to a horse that was only making his second lifetime start. He shows up here, and this was a tremendous effort when you consider the way the race was run. That half-mile call being color-coded red, meaning the pace was fast, he was pressing it throughout. He was pressing Gravitas. I thought this was a really, really bang-up effort from this horse. He did everything professionally, and he was very, very game down the lane. He did not want to lose. Came home in 31.88. The only horses that came home faster were the two that were coming from out of the clouds, my boy Jack and Pony Up. I think there's a lot to like about Telekinesis going forward. Mark Casse went as far as to say, I think he's a superstar. Whether he was saying that because that's one of his boys, or he genuinely believes that. Or maybe it's somewhere in the middle. I think this horse has a ton of ability. He's in good hands with Mark Casse. Telekinesis is probably one that you want to throw into some sort of a stable watch or a stable mail. I have a sneaky feeling it'll be a race like the Preakness, but maybe that'll be too much too soon, and they'll want to kind of take some more baby steps with him. But he's a very, very interesting prospect going forward as far as the 3-year-olds are concerned. Pony Up, I still think better off as a turf horse or a synthetic horse, although he did run on very well here at the end, but he did have a nice pace to run at. Gravitas is an interesting horse to consider going forward as well, because this was his first start as a 3-year-old, his first start since he had knee chip surgery, The concern I have is as well as he ran, he got tired at the end, but I'm not going to hold that against him when you look at the fractions. 23 and 147, 12 flat for 3/4. It was an honestly run race, especially with that half mile being color-coded red. But the problem is he changed leads very, very early. And again, this is a horse coming off of an injury-induced layoff. Never something that you'd like to see. I wish nothing but the best. I think this horse has a lot of ability, but you do wonder from a fragile standpoint, where are we? Or hopefully we'll get him right back. Also worth noting, he's got that big pedigree for the turf. So I wonder if things don't work out for him on the dirt or physically it's a little bit too demanding, you can always fall back onto the grass. My boy Jack, the connections have to be over the moon. The goal coming into Keeneland was to win the Lexington and get in to the starting gate at Churchill Downs the first Saturday in May in the Kentucky Derby. Job well done. Mission accomplished. My boy Jack wins the Lexington with a 90 buyer and a 117 Timeform US rating.